Today we are going to be talking about the War of Independence, which happened in 1857. We will be talking about the reasons why it occurred. It can be divided into multiple categories, such as the political reasons, the economic reasons, the military reasons, religious reasons, and the social reasons. The first political reason was the Doctrine of Lapse, which happened in 1852, in which if an Indian did not have an heir, his lands would be given to British. Secondly, we've got the royal family moved to Qutb Sahib. So because the royal family was a symbolic figure, moving them to Qutb Sahib was a sign of disrespect. Thirdly, we've got English replaced Persian in 1834, and this angered Indians because that was their national language. So, these were the political reasons why the War of Independence occurred. I would suggest while I'm writing this, you should also note them down and listen to the points in the voiceover. Next, we've got the religious reasons. Firstly was the Christian missionaries that had come, and they were doing forceful conversions of Muslims, Sikhs, and Hindus into Christians, which angered them naturally. Second point we've got is co-education, and for Muslims this was considered un-Islamic, so therefore they, started the War of Independence in retaliation. Lastly, we've got parda ban. Now, parda is the Urdu word for covering. Since it was banned in these schools, it angered all the Indians and especially the Muslim population. We're going to discuss the social reasons for the War of Independence next. First of all was sati was banned, and it was a Hindu practice which was pretty inhumane, but Hindu feelings were attached to it. Secondly, we've got racial discrimination, which was that the British felt that they had some sort of racial authority and superiority over the Indians, which made them feel very, hurt and inferior. Lastly, it's the same point that Persian replaced with English, because it's also a social reason and political reason, so you can write them in both. Next, we're going to be talking about the military reasons. First was the grease cartilage, which was a cartilage made out of the fat of cow and pig, and this was unacceptable to both Muslims and Hindus, as cow is sacred for Hindus and for Muslims pig is haram, so this caused a big uprising. Second point we've got is that the Indians were only given sepoy jobs in the army and not officers. So this showed that, the British were considering them an inferior race, and it angered them. The third point we have is that the British sent troops to fight in Afghanistan, and this was unacceptable both to the Hindus and Muslims, because the Muslims didn't want to fight their Muslim brothers, and the Hindus didn't want to leave Mother India as part of their customs. The last point, I'm going to squeeze it in the space here, and it was that some soldiers, in some cases, soldiers were forced to convert into Christianity. And this was alike for Muslims and Hindus, and obviously they felt insecure and, felt that their rights weren't being protected. In the economic reasons, we've got British would tax Indians heavily. And this is quite self-explanatory. They were, unfairly taxing them, which caused them to revolt. The second point we've got is that the British favored their own trade and hurt the Indian economy. Now, what this basically means is that they would, support their own trade and wouldn't pay attention to the Indian trade, hurting the Indian economy but boosting their own. The last point we've got is that the British tax collectors were corrupt. And what that meant is that when they would collect tax from the Indians, they would put most of it into their own pockets. And when they did so, they would have to keep collecting taxes from Indians, which eventually made them broke and caused them to revolt. And thus it led to the War of Independence of 1857.